tune out. The freedom of information based upon now. You blocked Monash Hospital. Anyway. 56, 21, 84, 39, BX32 and BX31821825 and BX24 POS of Piranan, which is the Luma eclipse in relation to the Rakakashan. Because in that way, the fine art in relation to autopsy, it will also be in relation to the three pyramids in Egypt. So in relation to the three pyramids in Egypt, the Magnafaka say is that the secretion of mathematician align itself into election of the dark sun. And in that time, when it does that, it completes into blue pie to work out the Amana and the Ikate in relation to Ebe Karang Sasan. So in relation to 26, 55, 24, 26 and 35, the lining of the bones in relation to fine-tune the glaze Brigade the Nangatsan of Shah because years and years and years it lasts very, very long. And in that time, whatever it does, it reflects the Mona Lisa to crackle some fine-tuned by autopsy. And in that way, the bones becomes china. So, when it does that, in the museum, mummies, it equalizes our skin tone in relation to the spinal cord. So, in relation to the spinal cord, the Lekasang of the Thirkashang will actually manifest the next Dutto, Duchin. How does fine art Dutch the fine bone of autopsy? Because it glazes into the pixtatum of clay in relation to the water. When it does that, it glazes Dutch crackly to glaze permanently. So in that time, the Rakram of glaze is the decussist of to do what I do is to do what I do in relation to what I do for you. My friends, I loved you so, but John is my husband. So in the morn after BC, I know that the glow will be within my room. So, row 7, 6, 10. Controller. Picks. Fix, fix, blur, 9%. Madagascar. The fine tune of art is an epilog of Peterson, because in this way the physicist of glaze is the mechanism of law, and to execute the third amount of decision, because when you glaze the clay in relation to Pierre, how does the mirror reflects the sun and the equation of Eclair? Because the dark sun, when it blinks into the autopsy, the bone of China wears off to crackler Pixton, because in the old age of the base, it lasts for so long from the shutdown of the Shah, and in that time it fluxed into the monsoon, the black sound of nebula, which is one gas from so in that way, when it confronts the macrocysts of dead bones, dog eats bones in relation to what we feed them. So in relation to dead bone, how does dead bone colorize the mycocentron of longer age in relation to the turtleneck? Because in relation to the turtleneck, the macrocentron of the sustained suitable bone is the black cell to maintain fine art. And in this way, to maintain fine art, the moccasin of the black hair is that the fine art will insist the alchemistry. Pierre, in relation to the alchemistry, the loxicist of knowing how this bone helps the governor to develop plastic in relation to rubber, and in that way it stores 9 to 3% of autopsy, and in that way the rectification of pixelum busansan, this reflection by plethora, which is the mutaton of neutron by Dithry. The death of the person, that this fine art is the question, because in this way Poseidon, because in this way the location of law is that this fine art is the tortoise of after death, AD. And in this relation, when it's after death, in relation to corruption, how does Jesus' bone last until nowadays? Does it or does it not? But the commitment of law is that this fine art is after death of How can you guys expose the rendering program of the thinking capacity by baby brain? Because by baby brain, it helps you to install the clay in relation to not knowing that Poseidon may allow itself into that. If you do this, then the autopsy will burn China into the breakable 1 to 3 years in the oven. So in that time, under warranty, how many months are we allowed once been bought in relation to not being used but being used? So in that way, Telekistan, the fine art in relation to the more expensibilities, but the capacity of Alfa Romeo grenade. So in that way, in relation to grenade, when the heat warms the food to sweetest our crab, then it tortoises into foam. But the circle of stew in relation to cookable bones, it's a broth, though. Hmm. See? Madhyasthana. Disho. Disho. Hmm. Alfa Romeo in relation to the Rakasan. The architecture of our bones is that the calcium will may be eternal in relation to the three pyramid, but in that time the sun sought even the glaze in relation to fine, but in that time when it does that, the crackling of the old clay shines through the door gate of Igna, which is that tissue from Sydney. So in that time, the artistic person of artistic dorsum, the bones of China, it's microwavable based upon a warranty. But based upon a warranty, the cooking machine is just an electron of knowing that cooking things in crocodile, the crack of the anabist can morph the thin bone. Why? Because the heat wave in relation to the thin bone is just a plastic of our chemistry to clay pot Pierre in relation to, you know. So in this way, The bones of autopsy is just an registry of after death, because within the warranty of fine Dior, the glaze, plecto, the glaze, bull, no, don't know anymore about Dior. But Telegeske, the nakanang of this bone is that the lokvar of tooth is the Karstensen of ele by milk, which is milk in relation to the dentist. But within that time, when it conflicts itself into the transmission of how does the molecular of the alchemistry will conjunction the so within that time, once we know the liberation of law, then we can compromise the outlook of ancient ancestors. Because in relation to ancient ancestors, Telegistan will know that one of the Thrakor soul is the Roshasan of the Shah, and within that time, when it conflict into the Shah, the Shekasan of Shah is so in this way it conflict into the Shekasan of Pixie to know that lady, I know my time is up, but I make this for you. So in that way, the dedication of the jewelry artist, based upon the monk's of knowing that this remedy of bones is the confluxus of law, and to transcend the manifestation, because within the manifestation based upon the legata of law, then we are just in relation to looking so. The alakantam of medicine is that the autopsy find out the nakana, which is plexan the rock, because the sun does something to the Kalikatnam, to the Mongol bamboo. It does. When it does that, the glaze, oil, the sand, to burn out thinner, brick, no, thinner. I don't know much about this in relation to jewelry because I'm an artist and a programmer and I love jewelry. I don't know much about it. But anyway, in relation to bones and the porcelain, does the willow know that the porcelain actually shire through a certain age of clays in relation to autopsy? Because in relation to autopsy, the moon shines through a diffraction of our water in the river of Nile, And when it travels through the clay in relation to glazing by the regression or blueprint, then it gives us automatically the beginning of Anubis. But in that way, Anubis, when it glazes through the years that it lasts, the modern art is the hackathon of apex to develop the institution of law, and in that way, the return warranty is based upon. So, within the noun of the vocabulary, based upon the transmission, because based upon the transmission of the aura, the positions of knowing that the manifestation of the clay is that the logicist that Emila that when we know how to clay the bone in relation to the water chemistry, it will help us by physicists, by Dantan-san, of knowing how to make clay. And in that way, it will confluence into of how does it glaze in relation to the museum to know that modern art is an ancient ancestors in relation to the mummy, and in that way, in relation to the mummy, the ark of Anubis will prove the warranty. And in so, when it does that, does it encourages it to view us in genres of our own love, and to know that the nene is the Testament of after death. So Jesus Christ, based upon autopsy, the bone of autopsy is the crystal, and in the fine art, erosional. So dead space in relation to mummies, the sound in relation to how the sun shone on, so funk in relation to glazing, the rainbow, no? Hey everyone, I'm not in love, and don't forget it. Da -na 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 -na. I'm not in love, and so Maleka Sankarcha, you will know that one time you will be me. A simple ground. Ancient God will begin. The autopsy based upon fine art. The mummy will look on. There's a funk in relation to the Ragavan parts and to triple the glaze. So in that way, when the ancient old mummies, Itoho of the three pyramid, the moccasin of law is this sham. So it glazes through the spackle of porcelain to willow the dead spirit, and in that time, when it does, it trickles them 3% of clays, flasks, and porcelain. Religiously, the confluences of BC A time and BC A4 is a subform of the dipla, because the dipla based upon the clay by Pierre is the Greek of when it shines through the syncretum of Shah and to Pisanum, the Egypt, because in that time the clay pot fine-tuned. Don't know. Oh, see? Sorry, Annabelle. What happened? See? That's something worked out. So anyway, tails. Shah. Glaze. So in this way, the clay cook or vase in relation to MX bicycle dirt action. But in that time, the dirt action what causes clay, but mud, and to tukututu, the bicycle of kids for activities and sectors of yeah. So within that time, the Alfa Romeo will focus on the ancient ancestors in relation to SYT. So in that time, you're dead, he's dead, I'm dead, we're dead. The Bone of Fine Art by Beyonce is the longer law of to suitable warranty and to burn microwave food in relation to nutrition. The overlay of Deutschland is the CA of diatron, and in that way our bones last a little bit longer to become 39 years old by the rhythm of child, and within that bone it's flecton of calcium to drink milk and integrated of water, and it clays into the mud. So within that time, the clays molecular to the mechanic, no, to no,